And we're live. What is up, everybody? Let's fix this thing real quick. Boom. There we are. All right. Hopefully, everybody is doing well. I'll let a few people get on. Figured I'd do this show before my good buddy Rich's show over at Entrepreneurs and Cars. So he'll be on at 8 o'clock over at Entrepreneurs and Cars. So when you're done listening to me for the evening, you can go travel over there. Hopefully, you guys are good. Had a good New Year. Let's talk about why you guys suck with women. Just a lot of you guys don't suck with women, but why some of you guys suck with women anyway. Let's talk about it. All right. We'll get into it a little bit. All right. So the reason is I'll cut right to the chase and then we'll get into an article which I find kind of humorous. All right. Is that you guys don't have empathy and you don't understand what chicks go through, what they deal with. And so therefore you can't understand or interpret their behavior. All right. And so you see some of the guys who are really bad with chicks, that's usually the case. They just don't understand what a girl is dealing with or going through. Now, I'm not saying, again, like that you're going to white knight for girls, and simp for them and you don't understand what a girl goes through and try to rescue them and stuff. That's not what I mean. But just understanding what their perceptions are, what their reality is, that requires empathy. You got to put yourself in their shoes. Next level game involves empathy. All right. You can show up and be SMV style attractive and live action role play, some pickup stuff. And if she's drunk enough and she's sad enough, all right, she'll sleep with you. Okay. Some girls want to bang just like guys do. So, hey, sometimes they just sleep with you, right? But I mean, really to maintain, though, frame, maintain good relationships, get a second date, even, right? Spin plates, all of those things. To do it skillfully, to do it at the next level, you got to be able to see kind of what they're seeing. You might not think the way that they do, and you might not agree with her line of thinking either. That's not the point. You just have to be able to see it. All right. And that's where a lot of you guys really have a hard time. Now, if you guys got a question, throw a super in there so I can catch it, help support the channel, even if it's just a little bit, because it helps their algorithms, and I'll be happy to answer your question. Now, and sometimes I might just catch something in the chat just to catch it. So let's get into this little article here. Kind of humorous little thing here. We'll share the screen. Yeah, sure. Let's do it. And let's look at this thing. All right. So somebody decided to make an article about this text exchange. I've seen some really bad text exchanges. Never text a chick like this. All right. It's going to go without saying this is a little bit stupid. And of course, most of you listening, watching will know, well, obviously you don't text a girl like that. Right. But there's still something to be learned here and learned about the topic too, and about sort of seeing things from their shoes. So we'll tie that all in here. But notice the title, though, right off the bat. My new favorite story is about a, quote, nice guy who got put in his place. And so this is, of course, a woman putting a man in his place. And of course, that's a little bit silly, right? Don't care too much about that. But all right, keep in mind and notice the rhetoric. All right. Nice guy is a bad connotation here. Nice guy is always a bad connotation. All right. So keep that in mind as we sort of go through this little bit here. So, because again, nobody wants the nice guy. Nice guys aren't attractive. Nice guys can't be trusted. All right. That's the big thing here, and you'll see what I mean and what they mean, the author. I'm not going to read the article. I'm just going to show the exchange. So this is the dude in the white here. He says, "Hey, next text, are you awake?" And the next text, "I don't know. I know is really random and we don't know each other that well, but I'd love to take you out for dinner and drinks sometimes. You're drop dead gorgeous and seems like a lot of fun and seemed like a lot of fun. The few times we've been out, let me know." Okay, so this is social circle, right? Um, so that's we'll just look at that real quick. So we're going to analyze the text exchange here. So that's a pretty lame way of texting a girl. Okay. For one, there's a reason we don't start off with compliments. She gets compliments all day long. It's just not attractive to her. It's not going to rope her in and make her want to see you. Okay. Necessarily. All right. So compliments from a game perspective, if you haven't heard this before, when you approach a woman or interact with a woman, you have to be careful that you maintain the framework of you being, in a hypergamous sense, a better genetic option than she is. So if you do too much to pine for her, okay, you're going to send the message to her in her instinctual brain that she's better than you. If she thinks she's better than you, as far as mating options are concerned, it's not going to work out. She won't be attracted. So when guys give a compliment to a woman, and we can do more in-depth videos on giving compliments and how to do that correctly. But when a guy gives a compliment to a woman, he has to be careful about not having it come across that he's basically less than she is and, "Oh, you're so great, you're so wonderful, you're so beautiful, you're so gorgeous." When compliments work, they come from a position of power, okay, where she sees him as sexually marketable and then he delivers a nice statement that's hopefully truthful and accurate, okay, and also elevates her a little bit, lets him know of his sexual intention, and maybe gives her a little bit of comfort, actually, because maybe there's a bit too much tension and she's not sure or too unsure, right? Where she's not sexually open because she's too unsure whether or not that dude's that interested. So compliments need to come from a position of power. Sending a random text at, if we look at the screen, a random text at almost 1 a.m. to this chick that's apparently in some sort of social circle with him, and then going straight for the close. First, "Hey, are you awake?" And I don't know how well they knew each other here, but you're going to find out that they don't know each other all that well. That they worked together. That's what you're about to find out. And then it goes right for the close, and you're drop dead gorgeous, whatever. So it seems like a typical way of just asking a girl out. And when a guy gets nervous and goes to, ask a girl out, that's kind of what he'll do. But, let me let's see if I can, yeah, we can do it like that, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of what he'll do. You know what I mean? When I got that one. Oh no, I'm seeing that comes out like that. Anyway, well, whatever. Yeah. So, it's kind of typical, right? Just asking the girl out. Here's what you do. Well, all right. It doesn't sound too good when we're a third party looking in. Every dude has probably texted a girl like this at some point in their life that's listening to this, and it's just not attractive unless she is like already madly into this guy. It's not going to work. Okay, she's not going to see herself as someone who needs to earn this guy. She's definitely not seeing him as the better option. When you see alpha guys where the chick is interested in him, that's generally not how that text exchange even starts. All right. So he responds the next day, no response at all. Ha. All right. So I think that's the next day. No, that is the same day, but it's 7:30 in the morning. So already desperation, right? This is again a very bad example, okay, of how what not to do. But a good example of what not to do, rather, a bad example of how to text a girl. So in the morning, less than 8 hours later, 7:30 in the morning, he is texting her, no response at all. Ha. She's like, who is this? He says, forget me already. It's blank, smiley face. Okay, so it's already not going well. All right. This isn't going good. And have I heard about this? I'm sorry. Yes, I have. I have heard about that, Lucas. I have heard about Tom Torino. It sounds very sad. Torero, sorry. Um, and yes, this is cringe. And no, I'm actually not going to address it, Lucas, because I don't know more about it. My friend Troy was close to him. Troy, and so Troy Francis knew the guy. And anyway, at any rate, so he'll let me know what's going on with that because there's a backstory and there's a lot not known yet about that man's death. So I'm not going to really get into it. Okay, so back to it. All right. So okay, this is already terrible. All right, it's already not going well. Big question mark. Okay, so then she writes, "Hi there. I didn't forget you. I was sleeping when you texted me at 1 a.m. But I'm sorry for not getting back to you today. Anyway, thank you for what you said. That's really nice of you, and I'm flattered. But I just want to be honest and straightforward with you. I really do appreciate the offer to go out, but I'm not quite interested. I hope that's not too abrasive, but thank you again." Okay. That is pretty, like, a lot of guys I hear complaining that girls are not straightforward enough with them. Why don't they just tell us how they feel? If she doesn't want to go out, why does she ghost my communication? Why does she play games and play games? Guys, let's say she's playing games. All right. She's not playing games. She's not interested in you. Okay, that's usually what it is. And instead of being straightforward, a lot of women will dance around the topic. They'll not respond, and then they'll respond with few word answers. You know, they're trying to be polite, but they're not really interested, and they'll do those things. They'll do a lot of things, right? That indicates that they're not interested, but they won't necessarily be straightforward. And a lot of guys are like, why aren't these chicks as straightforward? Okay. And so she's actually doing that. And in a way, in a sense, I respect her for doing that. I think that more women should do that. But you're about to find out very quickly why they don't. All right. Let's look at female opinion on this. I don't like the drop dead gorgeous comment. A lot of women think they're attractive, but not to the degree of drop dead gorgeous. So it already seems like the guy is over the top with a comment. Yes, it seems disingenuous. When you give a compliment to a girl, if it comes across as disingenuous, then she's going to think you're after something and it's going to, which you're after sex. However, that signal that you're after something makes the danger signals go up for her, not the attraction signals. So she's not drawn towards you when she doesn't trust your compliment or your frame. Not to mention, once again, the compliment is coming from a point of weakness. Texting her at 1 a.m., well, when she says, who is this? Clearly texting her at 1 a.m. wasn't the right answer, right? Wasn't enough rapport to throw that 1 a.m. text. I mean, we can throw that 1 a.m. text to a girl who knows who you are and it can get you laid, right? But if it's somebody you just met, you don't know them, why are you texting at 1 a.m.? It sounds very desperate. And then, of course, his follow-up, no response, without leaving enough time in between was also very desperate. Then you throw in a disingenuous compliment Right now, any girl is when she and MJ wrote it, any girl watching this or seeing that is going to think exactly what that says on the screen. Cringe. All right. And so you don't want to make girls be cringing. If you look at the seduction matrix that I've laid out in previous video, right? She's either sexually open or sexually closed, and she either has tension or comfort. Now, tension and being some level of tension and being sexually open, that's where genuine desire comes from. Okay, that's where she's got the butterflies, the jitters, the tingles, we'll say, right? Okay, so some tension is good, but you have to be able to gauge if that girl is sexually closed or open. And if she's closed and you're bringing on some hard tension, and she's gonna that's when she's gonna feel cringe. Okay, when she's sexually closed and there's tension, that's where she's getting danger signals and she's gonna think you're a creep. All right, so let's get back into that. So she sends a very nice response. I mean, really, it couldn't have been any more polite and straightforward. Most guys who are in the right state of mind would say, okay, that's fair, talk to you later, right? Okay, come out with me as friends at least. All right. She says, sorry, I'm not interested. Life's crazy lately, and I already am struggling to be a good friend to the few I already have. She's trying as hard as possible to be politely turn this guy down. All right. Next day, 6:50 p.m. Hey, change your mind yet? And this emoji, which I hate. By the way, guys, this emoji sucks. Let me give you a quick tip on emojis here. All right. um the when you do an emoji, emojis are actually good and they can elevate, if done properly, they can elevate that conversation and help you seduce her. They've actually done studies with response rates and they found that emojis can be effective. But what the studies don't cover though is, okay, what kind of emojis are they actually using? Now, what I found with coaching guys and, having done this for quite some time and dealing with women for quite some time, is that when you throw an emoji down, generally speaking, especially the facial ones, she kind of imagines your face doing that thing. All right. So if you send over this emoji here with a tongue out, one eye closed, one eye wide open, like a psychopath, that's not the best emoji to send. Okay. If that's the face you're giving a girl, all right, it's not very attractive. You know what I'm saying? A wink is cool, a little half smile, a smile, laughy face, even a little devil face or whatever. Those are cool. The really weird sideways faces, tongue out, it's not attractive. All right, doesn't do anything to seduce a woman. All right, comes across as creepy. Then, of course, you add the rest of this conversation, and that's what you end up with, right? So, girl wants Chad. Does she? And Tyrone, does she? Girl, straight to the friend zone. Does she want Chad or Tyrone? Probably. They all do, right? But you know what? How about she just wants a guy, this guy in particular, to leave her alone? All right. And she wants a guy who knows how to seduce and knows how to be attractive in a conversation. And he does not know how to do that. As you can clearly see, hey, change your mind yet? Goofy face. Her response, no. Okay. Playing hard to get. I like. LOL. So this is not at all seductive or working. She had politely rejected the dude and he's continuing, right? And continuing to blow up her phone. And none of this is drawing her in to a real human connection, okay, where there's an actual social connection with this other person. We're social animals. We're meant to socially connect. There's other videos I have on that, like what to talk about in the body of the conversation, things that are relevant to her and things that are on a spectrum of things that would be interesting to exchange some information, talk about, make a social connection. And he's doing none of that stuff. He went straight to the close and then is acting like she's playing hard to get, which is completely uncalibrated. She is saying, get away from me. as politely as possible. And he is continuing to be persistent and not in a good way, in an uncalibrated way. When you show up and are uncalibrated with a girl, uncalibrated means you don't recognize her emotional cues when she is talking or when she in with her actions. All right. And then you're responding based on your wants and needs rather than recognizing what hers are and having an actual exchange. That sends over danger signals. That sends over a signal that you're not going to be somebody who's going to be a good sex partner. You're not going to be somebody who's going to be a good partner, period. Okay. So in or out of the bedroom. All right. It's very anti-seductive. So then he responds with this little thing right here, I guess. Okay, plan how to get a like it. I don't know. He gets this little 3 dots here. Nothing happens. So then he responds, so I've been really patient with you all week and want to take you out this weekend. And you still haven't explained why you're not interested. All right. Guy wants an explanation. Okay. Guy wants an explanation. We don't explain things, right, to girls. That's not seductive. Demanding explanations from a girl for her behavior generally isn't going to hold your frame with that girl. And that includes when you're in a relationship with a girl and she does something that's a bit out of turn or out of pocket. Yeah, this is extremely painful, but this exchange. But I do have a point, some valid ones that I want to make throughout it, but particularly at the end. So appreciate your patience going through this horrible exchange. Now, if you see any resemblance to yourself in any one of these texts, then you know you're off, okay? And you need a bit of help. All right, you need some things. You have to work on a lot of things if that's the case. Now, most of you guys are going to look at this and go, "I would never text like that," and that's good. I hope that that's the case. That being said, however, you may say that, okay, you may think that, but the reality is there are elements to this guy's exchange that you guys do. It's a lot of you guys, and you don't even recognize you're doing it. Being socially uncalibrated, right? Is one of them. Not recognizing the cues that she's giving off. Okay, asking for explanations. Now, most of you guys wouldn't ask for an explanation in this context, and you would have already moved on. But how many of you have demanded explanations from women when they've done you wrong, right? Many of you have, and that's generally not going to work very well in keeping frame with a woman. You're not looking for her understanding. It's up to her. Hear this out, okay? It's up to her to decide to understand. It's not up to you to make her understand anything. All right? You're not looking to give her understanding. A lot of you guys are like, oh, let me red pill my girlfriend. How do I red pill my girl? Or this girl seems like a good, good candidate, a good LTR material. So how do I red pill her? How do I tell her about female nature? I get these questions. We see them. And then some of you guys will laugh at them, right? But then you're guilty of some of the same stuff. Okay? Stop seeking to make her understand. Instead, you're seeking compliance. Stop seeking to make her understand. Instead, you're looking for compliance. If she is complying with your standards and your boundaries, and she's following your leadership, whether she likes it or not, then she's in your frame. If she's not complying to your leadership and recognizing and staying within your standards and boundaries, then she's not in your frame. And then you want to draw her into your frame through your actions and through emotional buy-in. Explanations or understanding is up to her. And I'm not saying I don't wish for or you should never wish for your girlfriend or wife or whoever to understand. Of course, It would be good if she understood, but it's not your responsibility to make her understand. Okay. It's your responsibility to set the standards, boundaries, and to do the right actions and to lead with your actions. And if she is not within your frame, then you draw her in and you have her emotionally bought in. And it's up to her to seek understanding. Let's say she's out of bounds and she doesn't understand. It's up to her to seek that understanding to get to understand your perspective, in which case you can allow for that and make statements, okay? Not explaining and not defending yourself, right? And not rationalizing, but making a statement of how it is, statements of facts, okay? And of course, real conversations happen. This isn't just internet, speak in your relationships. I have what I call really more or less a quiet time, and like guys, I recommend will have a quiet time with their significant other, or their girls, or their plates, where they're just kind of having this communication back and forth. In which case, when she's seeking understanding, you can make more statements and get into things a bit. But that's not the same as you trying to explain to her, because you have made it your responsibility to make sure she understands you. That's not something you're actually interested in. You should not, don't be interested in it, because that explanation doesn't do anything for your frame. It doesn't do anything, certainly doesn't do anything for her attraction to you. Okay. So you're not, again, looking for that. She'll get understanding and she'll understand it in her own way. Okay. That's, again, it's up to her. But what's more important, what you are seeking is compliance. Okay. It's compliance, not understanding. All right. So we go back to the article. So he asks her for an explanation. Bad idea. She loses her shit. Okay. She says, I will tell you exactly why, you entitled piece of blank. Being patient does not mean texting a person you barely know at 1 a.m. and expecting a response by 7 a.m. on an effing Tuesday. I responded politely and honestly, rather than ignoring you or leading you on. I have told you no 4 times, and you apparently don't know what that word means, which is disturbing on countless levels. I have seen the way you treated my female customers when I worked at blank. Okay, so they work together. You were an effing predator. All right. So he was socially uncalibrated in person with women. His flirting was creepy. She recognized that, was not interested in going out with this guy. You see how that works? That's how social proof works, right? So be careful when you go to the bar, you're day gaming, or you're doing those things. You want to be able to seamlessly and effortlessly draw girls in. Some of the ways you guys learn pickup make you look like dorks, and you get blown out. And there's nothing wrong with getting blown out, but you do it in front of everybody and you look like a dork. And then that will ruin it for the other women around you who might have potentially might have gone on a date with you, might have hooked up with you, but now they're not. Okay. So you have to be calibrated, because social proof matters. Anyways, he clearly was not. So she writes, for future reference, if a woman tells you no, she wants to be left alone, not accused of playing hard to get. For the life of me, I can't understand how or why you feel so entitled to a stranger's time, attention, and God only knows what else. I suggest you seek some professional help. All right. So that's hilarious. and and she started off being very straightforward and actually very polite and not bitchy, right? Like, she was fine. To me, that would be a good, like, almost like, thank you for rejecting me like that. Have a nice day, right? Like that's much better than the ghosting and the no contact and then the little 1-word, 2-word answers that you guys are getting on dating apps and when you text a lot of these women, right? Being straightforward was pretty good. But you see what happened there. She was straightforward. What did she get rewarded with? This guy continuing to pester her and bother her. So then she gets to the point where she gets frustrated, angry, and upset. Okay. And what happens? His response, ha ha ha. I've had more than enough experience with women to know who plays games and hard to get, and you are one of them. I saw what you would wear at blank, wherever they worked. Cleavage always out. I think you're the one who needs some professional help or at least some self respect. So, see, now he's going to degrade her because he was rejected. But okay, I bet anything you're probably going to bang 3 different dudes this weekend when you could have been with me instead. But whatever, that's your loss. Effing probably sloot. All right. Okay. I don't actually care about her response here, so it doesn't matter. Let's see how she told them off. Like, who cares, right? If you guys want it, tell me in the chat. All right. But yeah, I'm you'd be have a lot of pet peeves about my grammar. I usually don't make that mistake though, but I'd make plenty of other ones when I write. At any rate, so if you guys want to see the rest of it, we can, but I don't see a purpose for it. To see, oh, she tells them off. All right, big deal, right? But what I want you guys to pay attention to most of all is this: that interaction, maybe not as badly as that, and maybe not as well executed as her response, but that interaction has happened to probably every girl at least several times. Okay. Where a girl rejects a guy, he loses his crap, insults her, degrades her, and all that stuff. Where a guy, approaches, she says, I'm not interested. She does it in a polite and as, respectful way as she could. And then that particular guy continues to hammer her and push boundaries. And that happens a lot. All right. I don't know if I think I have a few females and women in the chats if you want to respond and say so, but that can happen quite a lot, especially those who are doing online dating. And because there's that screen that's between you and the other person, and people seem to think that they can run their mouths behind the screen, right? That guy sounds like a lot of people in some of the chats and in some of the comments on YouTube comments. Luckily, not too many of mine, because you guys that watch me are pretty cool, most of you. But a lot of the YouTube comments, though, and some of my other friends who create content along these lines, that's like they get all that stuff. You go into some of the crappier channels with not much substance and a lot more red meat and a lot more, blood sport, if you will. Those comments are riddled with, just women ain't crap type of stuff, right? Just a bunch of BS and just degrading women, all that. And so the point is this, right? I mean, if you don't like women, you know what I mean? Then don't go out with them, right? If you're going to sit here and be sort of, women suck kind of a thing because of their nature, then don't go. Then I guess go. I don't know. Cut your stuff off and go join a cult. I don't know what to tell you, right? Because it's not going to help you be successful with them. You got to understand that you can't personalize these interactions that you have with a chick when she doesn't know you. And I think that's really the main point here. Because you guys will meet a girl, you'll be a swipe on a dating app, or you'll meet her real quick and do a number exchange. She doesn't know you from all the other losers that she's had to deal with. You know what I mean? And I agree that she should have a positive mindset and she should try to treat people with respect and treat people like individuals and not get jaded because of the many interactions that she's probably had with dudes exactly like this. All right. I agree with you there. I think that too. And when I coach women who are single and are looking to do better in the marketplace, that's one of the things I'm helping them with, is to show up and be feminine. Show up, learn how to be feminine, learn how to be pleasant, because part of being feminine is making people feel good, making people feel welcome, making people feel socially connected, and not to abandon that femininity because they've had several guys act like assholes, right? Like, I counsel women on that. All right. When I have them as clients, when they show up and we do a session and they're trying to date, that's one of the things we do talk about. Okay. So, yeah, I understand that point. Well, you're not a girl. Most of you listening to this are interested in dating women, and you're not women. And so for you dudes, just because she should do something different, maybe as a better strategy, that is here nor there on your ability to end up spinning her as a plate. You see what I'm saying? So, and again, if you guys got questions, throw it in the super. All right. Because there's no guarantee I'm going to get to your questions otherwise. So as I said, so it's not, I mean, you have to understand, like, this chick who might be a good match for you has probably had several interactions just like what we just went through, or some kind of spin-off of that, where she nicely rejects a guy and then the guy just curses her up and down, or sends her, a picture of his D, right? Or acts inappropriate or whatever. Because most guys are simps, right? Most guys are beta, and most guys can't take rejection well. Betas and simps, and as they said in the article, nice guy, which isn't a compliment, those guys don't deal with rejection, do they? And so they don't gracefully take rejection and not care about it. You know what I mean? When a girl is not interested in them, they get butthurt, they get pissed off, and they often try to give her comeuppance, you know what I mean, for not, hooking up with them or whatever. And it's BS. All right. It's giving a girl her comeuppance, which I know a lot of you guys like to see that. And a lot of you guys are attracted to that kind of stuff in social media and in the content creation. And I agree. Some of it's pretty damn funny too. Okay. Especially when she's a total, a-hole, and then she's just getting it, right? Like, can be funny. However, when you're dealing with a chick one-on-one, and you're dealing with chicks in general, to try to get them to go out with you, wanting that and caring about that isn't going to help you. You know what I mean? So you can't care about how she acts. If she's cold and aloof a little bit in the beginning, and it takes making a social, you have to learn how to make a social connection, pull her out of it, or you're just not going to be very successful. Okay. And that's just the way it is. You can't sit here and go, oh, my SMV, if she had genuine desire. All right. A lot of you guys have no idea how that works. All right. Because you might be a good looking guy or whatever, have a lot going for you. But if she just met you for 5 minutes and you got a phone number, or if she only knows you from the internet, then she doesn't know your value. She doesn't know your SMV. So you can't take it personal or take it as a lack of genuine desire, her lack of interaction with you. The fact that she might be responding to you at all and not rejecting you is already a good sign. And unfortunately, whether you like it or not, you're going to have to lead that interaction. And that means learning how to calibrate yourself and draw her into a conversation that's interesting and fun, and also short, so you leave more mystery on the table for the time, for the date, for when she comes over, or when you guys go out, or whatever. You see? And there's a skill to the seduction process. Focus on the process, focus on the skill. But you need to recognize that a girl, when she's acting shitty towards you, a lot of times has had 5 of those interactions already. And now you're trying to talk to her, and she's just in the frame of mind of you being a jackass. You know what I mean? And so that's where we need to, I'm like blowing up all over the place. But at any rate, that's where we need to kind of take several steps back and not personalize things so much. Have a little bit of empathy. What's going on with this chick? Because when a girl ghosts you or isn't interested in that moment, there are several reasons why that could be. And it being because of you isn't necessarily one of them. You know what I mean? It being your fault and you're not, she doesn't like you or whatever, it has nothing to do with you much of the time. And so just let that stuff go. Don't worry too much about it. Don't make a big deal of it. And really, focus on the girls that are going to be more responsive. And if this chick is not, just let it go. You know what I mean? Who cares? And maybe in a reopen or maybe in a different time, she'll be responsive. Sometimes like I said, it does take one or two openers or conversations. But again, that's how it is. Thanks, Ron. Yeah, I'm glad you're here, man. Hit that sub button. Hopefully we'll get some things done here. Aaron's the man. He's a good friend. I feel it. He's definitely a good friend. We got to hang out more. All right. So what's the difference between feminine and simp? Well, I don't know what you mean by that. Usually simp is something that a guy is doing towards a girl or he's placating to her. And generally that is pretty feminine. So I'm not so sure what the difference is either. All right. So you don't know what I mean by empathy. That's the problem. You need to get your definition straight from what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about sympathy. I'm talking about understanding her perspective. Empathy is understanding. If I am going to go on a mission, okay, think military operation, and I'm going to figure out something called the enemy situation, and I'm going to come up with courses of action based on how the enemy is thinking and how the enemy is going to respond. All right. That is empathy. Empathy is a male trait, not a female one. Females are sympathetic. They have sympathy. That's oh, you bumped your toe. That's being emotionally responsive and emotionally relating to somebody and trying to make them feel better, more or less. It's great for raising kids, not good for military strategy. All right. Empathy is simply putting yourself in the shoes of the other person, getting that understanding, and trying to see their perspective. So then you can move forward towards the goal. If your goal is to get her out, to spin the plate, to get laid, to make her your girlfriend, whatever you want, right? But whatever your goal is, that's your frame. You need to pull her into your frame. Some of you guys don't know what frame actually is. And so in order to do that, you have to have that empathy. You have to understand where that perspective is. Sometimes you'll have frame without understanding her perspective, but generally that's very fleeting. Okay. And so let's go through a few. There we go. That's right. So Fernando gets it. So hopefully that clears up that definition for you, and you see what I mean by that. Okay. Because that can be confusing too. Because people interchange the word empathy and sympathy all the time. They use what is that one? Interchangeably, and really they're not necessarily interchangeable. So go back to make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, like the video, and I got a little announcement towards the end here, which will be very shortly because I'm going to break at 8 o'clock, so you guys can go over to Rich's channel over at Entrepreneurs and Cars. I do appreciate super chats, even if they're small, guys. Just FYI, it's not really so much for me trying to get your money. It's for the algorithms. Little supers that come through helps make my videos a bit more searchable, which is always a challenge because I say things that the woke population and feminist population don't always agree with, right? And then they blacklist my videos. So Fiona asks, how would you bring up the idea of sleeping with other women to your LTR? Okay, Fiona is a guy, I think. So that one is going to depend on your chick and at what stage of the relationship you're in, whether or not bringing other women into the bedroom is going to be the right answer for your relationship. And I'm glad you kind of asked that. That's actually a good segue into the Frame and Seduction Mastermind program. So there's still a few seats left in the program. There are limits to it. I'm taking people. Thank you, Thor. I appreciate you very much. I will, send your super chat right back to you. So it's my buddy Red Pill Thor, gentlemen. He's a good man, and has very good advice too on exactly this topic. In fact, of bringing some of these dynamics and relationships. But at any rate, so you guys want to get dialed in for the next year with course material, and let me tell you a little bit something about this stuff. This stuff is actually can be a bit dangerous. Okay. I mean, it came from several different sources. All right. Behavioral psych, performance psych, and some of those areas that I have experience and a background in. Neurology is another thing. Pick up in seduction community, that sort of thing. But we also get into some studies on crime and cult leaders and some of the tactics and techniques that they use to manipulate people. Now, I'm not saying I want you to be a cult leader, but those tactics are very interesting. There's a big gray area in some of the seduction stuff, in the frame stuff. And I share that stuff behind a paywall because it can be dangerous, actually. In the wrong hands, you can manipulate people to do just about anything if you're very good at it. And we've seen people in our history, of the world do that on large scale, small scale, and it's not good. So I say it's a gray area, meaning it could be used for good, right? If it's persuasion and if it's keeping frame and seduction, and your girl wants to be there, and the girls you're with are consensually there, okay, more or less, and not just being manipulated psychologically, then it's good. And so there is a difference. But we're covering things in this course. Some things from, we'll just kind of leave this here, but from the humans community intelligent collection operators, all right, guys in the DoD, CIA, stuff like that. And so there's things that are, behind security clearances and classifications that are available and can be compared to some civilian stuff. I'm not going to give away classified information to people without a clearance. However, some of these tactics and techniques have been used by these agencies to get people to be very persuaded very quickly. All right. So at any rate, the frame and seduction program will get you very dialed in in a way that'll help you with your interactions with all people, not just women. All right. It's frame and leadership in your life, basically. And we're going to go over not just general topics and general ideas, but down to specific skill sets so that you can naturally integrate into your behavior. All right. You're just going to be it. You'll become it. It's not about, doing a trick or a technique. You're going to be the person and you're going to lead, and people in your life will follow you, and they'll follow you to your own demise if you let it, which is why I spent a lot of time talking about mental health and fitness. And this is also why we have a screening program. I want you guys to be a good candidate for the program. I want you guys to be mostly of sound mind, we'll say. And if you are dealing with traumas or anything, we can deal with those things. But I can't have somebody who's far gone down the rabbit hole, let's say a fantasy of incel stuff or whatever, learning these techniques, because they're very powerful. And it's going to teach you how to seduce and maintain frame with pretty much anybody you want or need to, and at least the methodology behind it. And so we're going to get very, very deep in this course. And this week I'm rolling out the first, for those of you who are in it, I'm rolling out the first, few hours of material. We'll have our Zoom call later this week, but it's one-on-one stuff. And if you guys have been struggling with women, struggling in your relationships, or you've been doing well and you just want to get dialed in and do better, this is the thing. This may be a good course for you. Okay. I say course, but it's really a mastermind program where you'll work one-on-one with me and we'll get you really dialed in on this stuff. All right. And I think I was going to say one other thing about that, but well, regardless, the link is in the description of the video. All right. It's free consult and interview with my course administrator, Weston. Get on his calendar if you think you might be a good candidate before it fills up, and then you end up on a waiting list. So that's the idea. All right. Because these skill sets can be dangerous. There's only so much I can talk about on YouTube. And so things like this gentleman had asked, how do I bring other girls in the bedroom? Well, I know exactly how to do that. I've counseled and coached many men to be able to do that, and their girls were very happy with that. That being said, though, you know, I can't talk about some of those things in a way that's meaningful or a way that's specific or a way that's dialed into your situation where you'll actually be able to do it okay on YouTube. All right. So all I can do is talk about generalities of bringing other girls in the bedroom and setting up the threesomes and the psychology and relationship dynamics behind it. I can talk about that a little bit in generalities. Those videos get blacklisted, of course, but we can have some of those conversations. But to answer your question specifically, which is when and how, that's going to depend on the girl, depend on you and the relationship dynamic. Know that all girls are wired to have other girls. Okay. And this is why female sexuality tends to be more fluid. Women tend to experiment more with other women. And even some of your most hardline heterosexual women, there's some part of them instinctually that is open to the idea. They've put that under research tests and studies, and it fits with evolutionary psychology, how we evolved, because women evolved in polyamorous tribes. And then from there came to harems, where it was one guy and several women. Okay. And that guy kind of owned those women and wouldn't let them play with other men necessarily. So women are wired to have that experience. That doesn't mean it's healthy for every woman. That doesn't mean it's good for every woman. And that doesn't mean every woman's going to be into it because there's other things besides instincts that are involved in decision making. But that being said, those things will matter. Just know that it's possible for just about every situation. It's a question of how, and it's a question of, is it a good idea for your specific situation? You want something like that, that's something that you would want to get into the Seduction and Frame Mastermind program and talk about that, or at least get into the forum, okay, where we get off of YouTube and we can talk about that stuff. All right. And let's see, what do we got? And I'll get to those super chats in a second. Yeah, so I've been working on my main girl for a few months using MLD's indoctrination tactics, and she isn't changing on the idea of that, which is 2 female, 1 male. Yeah, so John's a good friend. He has great material. I'm not, saying anything like against him or anything like that, but you need to get beyond material and get into your specific scenario, because in that dynamic, human beings are complex with red pill content, with, general dating and relationship advice. We try to come up with a predictive framework for all behavior and tendencies. But when you boil it down to individuals, now we're dealing with something different. All right. So you're an individual and she's an individual. We need to go a little bit further. If those tactics and techniques are not working, then we need to take it a step further into your specific situation. All right. And that's all I have to say about that. That's going to, so, click that link, get on the calendar, see if it's a good fit for you. All right. Now, we'll go through these chats. So, what do you think about Andrew Tate? He is very entertaining on social media. I don't know him though. I don't know him personally. He seems, like he's definitely accomplished some cool things. He has a brand he's running. He has stuff he's doing. I've heard good things from, friends of mine who have talked with him personally, dealt with him personally. So I don't know about the quality of his stuff. I've also heard bad things too, if they want to be real about the course content, but I don't know for myself. And I'm not saying he's bad because I've heard some bad things. That could be all BS, right? So I don't know, man. And I'm not in the business either of telling people whether or not somebody is bad or good. I'm not the kingmaker of YouTube. You know what I mean? You kind of evaluate each individual and you use what you got going on up here and your spidey senses to tell you if someone's good to work with or not. But as far as him as an individual, I have no idea if he would be. I have no idea because I've never met him. So maybe someday him and I'll meet and then I'll have an opinion. But right now I don't. So anyway, think that's all we got for super chats and questions. So thanks for jumping in here, guys. I appreciate it. My phone's been blowing up a little bit, so I'm going to get to that and see what's been going on there. All right. But we got some good things this week. For those of you guys who are already in the program, I'm excited to launch this and start this with you guys. All right. For those of you guys who are not yet or who might be good candidates, just go ahead and schedule that consult. And that's it. If you guys got any other questions or concerns or anything you want me to cover, let me know. Throw it in the comments section and I'll see if I can get to it. Have a good one.